I was reading this blog post from Sidley community, and this author asked, is it normal to keep thinking about retiring early during the age of 40 to 45? He felt that it is a waste of time to spend it on working. He just wishes to have a carefree life, wake up naturally, exercise, and accompany family, currently at age 36. However, his parent is not supportive as she feels that it's a waste of life and deem it as lazy. Okay, tried to discuss with her that a simple life of 40,000 expense with a target of 1 million liquid assets is sufficient to live till old age, and he wishes to know if other people had the same idea of retiring early at 40s. As his friends around his age and his social circle, nobody seemed to be planning for early retirement at all. And I guess this is fairly common, especially when we are in this field of discussing early retirement, ikigai, financial independence, retire early, right? We are a kind of crazy people who just want to accelerate our working life, save enough money, and then take a break, and then do something that we really like. But you see, this is not the norm in the real world, because most of the people, they only work till 65 and then they retire, right? Do nothing. This is the standard path of life. Now, if you're someone with this idea and you want to change it, you don't want to work till 65, you feel like you have a purpose in life and you want to fulfill it, then the first thing you have to do is to join my Telegram group at Honey Money SG, because that's where we gather the like-minded people to discuss about such financial goals, and we are free from judgment compared to your friends and public. So join us at Honey Money SG, over 8,000 members. But coming back to this topic on early retirement, is it really that bad? Is it really a wrong thing? Because you feel that you are not contributing to society if you retire early. And that's where some people place a lot of society values onto their jobs. For example, if you are a managing director of a company, you feel your sense of purpose because you're running the company, you're contributing to your Singapore's economy, you're contributing to your clients, your customers, and people who are buying goods or services from you. And you feel empowered because of your position. Now, take that away. If you are retired, do you feel that you lack a purpose in life because now you do not hold that title and your whole social identity have been placed on the managing director title itself? So early retirement is definitely not about doing nothing. To me, early retirement is more of you have found something you want to do in life. Maybe it's a passion, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's an interest that you always wanted to dabble in, but you may not have the time or the money to do that. But if you are retiring to nothing, all you do is to eat, sleep, watch TV and drink coffee all day, then so be it if you're happy. But if you're not happy with this kind of life, you'll realize that this kind of daily, habitual and mundane life will wear you out, and your brain activity will be so fried that you think of going back to work again. With zero productivity in life, I think that is quite a meaningless retirement. Of course, that will differ from people to people, but you have to ask yourself, when you are going to early retire, are you running away from something? Or are you running towards something? So what is considered a meaningful retirement? To people that may have different definitions, but for myself, I would say being able to do interesting activities in my own time and my own space. For example, you will love gardening, and gardening takes up a lot of time and maybe some space. But you cannot do this like during your full-time job, right? You cannot be like a farmer, whole day plowing the field. But maybe it's a hobby that you want to explore. Maybe you want to buy a farmland in Australia or Malaysia, and maybe you grow some agricultural crops and rear your own farm animals. That's an interesting life. Another thing about meaningful retirement life is to stay connected to a close community. And this can be like your social interest groups. Like for example, you enjoy doing Tai Chi, right? You want to gather a like-minded community of people doing Tai Chi every morning, right? Playing their music and then circling that tree. Because you will still need to have that social interaction and communication after you have retired. Otherwise, you will lose touch with society. And lastly, is the most important factor, whereby you don't work for money, you have enough money, and now with the money that you have as a fundamental base, you are able to chase your passions and your interests, and you have more time for such activities. So these are the 3 points that I think is a meaningful retirement life. But let's see what other people on Sidley says after a word from the sponsor. Here is the brand new offer for Weibo this month, and it's eligible for both new and existing customers. For new users, you have to fund $300 on your first deposit and execute one trade so you can buy one cheap stock. And glad to know that Weibo is offering free commission on your first 6 months, so you don't have to pay a fee on that. And with this requirement fulfilled, you will win 6 to 40 shares of Tesla, Apple, Microsoft or Google shares. On top of that, if you execute 3 options trade, you will win 8 options trading vouchers, which is worth 10 to $100 each. And for options pricing, Webull is charging 55 cents per contract, excluding any regulatory fees. And you know what? Even existing customers of Webull can win something as well, because if you execute one options trade, you will also win one options trading voucher worth 10 to $100 each. So use my referral link down below or scan the QR code right here to get your Webull account today. So coming from the most upvoted comment is from D Toy Wo. I retired at 42. It is great, best decision of my life. As long as you avoid all branded goods, you don't need to be a slave for that long. I think this is a really valid point, right? High expectations leads to high expenses, and high expenses will delay your early retirement goal. Because you have such high expectations, right? You expect to dine in like 4-5 star restaurants. You expect to buy luxurious goods. You expect to drive an expensive car. And all these are going to delay your early retirement. As long as you have a simple taste, okay, you are able to accept like hawker center or normal kopitiam food. Okay, you don't need to eat restaurant every day. You don't need to have a private vehicle. You can survive on public transportation. And the most important thing is your property. Maybe you no longer need such a huge house. You just need maybe 2 bedrooms, one for yourself and the partner, and one for your office or study. And that is good enough space for 2 people. So yes, early retirement, although it's a money and time goal, it also depends on what are your expectations. If you have lower expectations, definitely you can retire much earlier, even on a low cost of living city like in Malaysia or Vietnam or Thailand. But if you have high expectations, you want to buy a biggest and largest property, you want to drive expensive cars, then definitely you will be a slave to your property and your car, because all these loans are just going to pile up on your plate. The second most upvoted comment is from Chiwei Tan. You are absolutely right. I'm 45, married with an 8-year-old. My wife and I share your thoughts. We have achieved FRS in CPF. Very good. I would strongly encourage you all to achieve your full retirement sum in CPF before retirement. And they calculated that you need less than 10 years to achieve another 200k per person to earn 4% interest from the CPF SA on top of the retirement payout. So they are very clear on their retirement goals, CPF life payouts and whatever is going to form part of their retirement plan. And let's move on to see what they say. We agree to move to maybe Malaysia, rent out our HDB here. The rental will fund our daily expenses. The CPF payout can be used to fund our daughter's education overseas. That is a super plan, you know. I know of people who just rent out their Singapore HDB and just live in Malaysia, because when you rent out your full flat, that's like a good 2 to 3k or even up to 4k in a hot rental market. So that is summing up to around 10,000 Malaysian ringgit, which is a very good livable income in Malaysia. We still have another plot of stock investments which we can use to fund other purposes like traveling. Don't underestimate CPF. The fact that it guarantees payment till death means a lot, because sometimes we make bad financial decisions in life. CPF must form a bottom financial pyramid and you stack other modes of payment on top. This is exactly what I have been saying. For those of you who really hate CPF and don't understand CPF, CPF is not there for you to get rich or get over inflation. CPF has always been meant as a supplement to your retirement plan and not your only retirement plan. And that is what I have been advocating. There are other things like investment portfolios, like your bank accounts, high interest cash, money market funds, whatever. All these will form part of your assets for your retirement portfolio. And I think this couple have it sorted out. They use CPF as a base, which is what I strongly advocate for, and that's why it has the second most upvote. The third most upvoted comment is from Chen Zhirong, and he says that you're absolutely right, and most people don't really understand when you say retire. And that is true, because when people think about retiring, it's more about doing nothing, right? Retiring from work and then slack around all day. But it's not really true. We can take a break for a few years, do woofing. Woofing, I don't know what's that. Is there some organic farming thing? Sounds like it, right? Yeah, so I'll put it in the B-roll right here. What is woofing? Or focus on learning whatever we really like. Sadly, being bored is seen as a crime or sin. And I can strongly attest to that. When I talk about early retirement, most people think that I really do nothing. In fact, they do not see that the hard work you put in and the hustle that you have gone through to accelerate your financial portfolio is like super hard work, alright? These people are not lazy people. These people are opportunistic people who just want to accelerate or fast track their retirement journey. and they do all the homework in front first so that they can relax later on. And it's totally okay if you don't understand this early retirement movement. Just don't need to criticize and be more open-minded about things that you do not understand. Zhirong also say that he encourages people to consider, instead of working 100% for 4 years to retire at 40, would you consider working 50% for 8 years to retire at 44 instead? You can start cutting down now rather than later go for it. And that raises an important point. Can you semi-retire instead of full retire? Because semi-retire would be more like barista fire. Maybe you want to work in a less physical, strenuous job, don't take up much of your time, like do part-time barista kind of thing, and then you do other things, right? Because maybe you have enough money for half a retirement portfolio, but not the full retirement portfolio. So you see, that's something that you can work towards, do semi-retirement. I think that is also a good balance before you realize that this early retirement life is good for you or not. So do consider semi-retiring. Don't need to work 100%, just work 50%. And this brings me back to my point of why I started YouTube as my origin, right? I think I started YouTube as an exit strategy. I knew that I was going to retire early, but I didn't know what was I going to do after retirement. And doing YouTube seems to be the best balance of all. I get to earn some money, I get to do some productive work, and I get to engage with a community, and I think it has quite a good impact to this world as well, as long as you're spreading positive message. But the most important thing of doing full-time content creation is the freedom. I have the time freedom and space freedom to do whatever I want and help other people achieve their own versions of financial freedom itself. So you see, it's the best kind of retirement life that I envision to be. I still want to be productive to earn some income on the side. May not be a lot, but it's sufficient enough for daily expenses, but at the same time help other people positively. And that is what I really want to achieve through doing YouTube as well. So for those of you who think that retiring early may be a big mistake, I think it's because you haven't found something to retire to. Maybe it's not a meaningful retirement life to you yet. So keep on searching, you'll find one someday. But if you're just retiring to nothing, just eating, sleeping, and then doing mundane activities all day, there's totally nothing wrong with it. I will not judge you, but you have to realize that one day you may get bored of it, and you realize that the retirement life is not for you, you want to go back to work, then I can refer you to watch my very popular video on how much salary is enough in Singapore.